It's time for our Culture Issue segment. As the year draws to a close, we want to delve into the performing arts sector today, which has been thriving in 2024. And we'll do that with Professor Chie Hye-won from Kyung University's Arts and Cultural Management Program, who is joining us in the studio. Welcome back, Professor Chie.
Good afternoon.
So, Professor Chie, how was the overall performing arts scene in 2024? Some say it experienced its biggest boom ever, with attendance surging for theatrical plays, musicals, and other performances.
Right. After COVID-19 pandemic, the performing arts industry has been recovering its growth gradually. And especially large-scale shows, including K-pop concerts, musical, and straight plays brought more audiences this year. According to KOPIS, Korean Performing Arts Box Office Information System, the total gross annual box office receipts would be approximate $975 million for this year, which is a little more than the last year's total. So we could say the industry itself keeps growing. However, the growth reflects on the increasing ticket prices, so it doesn't always mean that the profit increases at pro rata.
Now let's go deeper now, starting with theater. This year, Korean plays have been particularly rich in reinterpretations of classics and also creative plays with diverse special perspectives. So what were some of the highlights?
Yeah, the audiences got more chances this year to see the famous movie stars on the stage. So, including Jeon Do-yeon, Park Hae-soo, and Choi Hee-seo in The Cherry Orchard, Hwang Jung-min in Macbeth, Moon So-ri in Sound Inside, and Jo Seung-woo in Hamlet, and more recently, Lee Dong-hee in The Lives of Others. So The Cherry Orchard, directed by Simon Stone, was sold out because it took 27 years for Jeon Do-yeon to return to the stage.
Wow.
Right, it was a long time, and Jo Seung-woo chose Hamlet as his first straight play. He did a lot of musical theaters, but it was his first play, so it was sold out as well. And whenever Hwang Jung-min does plays, his works are critically acclaimed and the audiences love them. So Macbeth was amazing as well. So those shows with the big stars were usually selling out because it is so attractive for the audiences to see the famous actors acting right in front of them. So, and the word of mouth could spread more easier than the other shows.
Easier and faster.
Right.
And why do we see those big stars increasingly heading to the stage? And what impact has this had on the theatre sector?
One of the reasons behind the playing starring the famous actors that it is a good way to build the new audiences and expand theatrical experiences. Also, as you know, the Korean film industry battles box office these days and struggles with investment for the new project. So that was another reason for some of the actors to try to do more theatrical works recently. And it is not much different from any other countries because the more Hollywood stars do Broadway theaters these days, such as Robert Downey Jr. and George Clooney. The biggest impact of the star vehicle shows for the theater producers would be that they could present large-scale plays, not only the musical theaters, running for the longer period of time based on the strong fandom.
And now you did mention musicals already, but we have been talking a number of times about musicals this year, Korean musicals. So they are still going strong. What are some of the highlights you want to mention?
Yeah, there were Korean original musicals premiered or returned to the stage this year, including Il Tenere, Benjamin Button, Your Lies in April, Frankenstein, Mata Hari, and Maybe Happy Ending. Also, many Korean licensed productions played with a strong box office, including Kinky Boots, Chicago, Jekyll and Hyde, Hadestown, Aladdin, Jesus Christ Superstar, Dear Evan Hansen, and Come From Away. Especially, surprisingly enough, thanks to the several genius comedians and creators on YouTube, such as musical stars or some short-form challenges, the long-running musical Chicago and Kinky Boots got the highest public attention ever this year, and it affects the box office growth as well.
It's also been a particularly strong year for homegrown musicals as well. So how do you assess this achievement?
That's right. It was a remarkable year for the Korean musical industry, not only domestically but internationally, because the original works has expanded its marketplaces globally. Marie Curie was presented in the UK earlier this year, and the Maybe Happy Ending opened on Broadway in November. Then The Great Gatsby, produced by Korean theater producer Shin Chun-soo, opened on Broadway in the last spring and will be presented in the UK next year. Also, several smaller shows got government support and opportunities to be introduced to the international market, including Fan Letter, Swagage 외쳐 조선, and Loud Hest. So thanks to the high global attention to the K-culture, I believe Korean musical theater would keep growing and expanding into the international marketplaces next year as well.
I think that having Korean-made musicals abroad in New York and London, that I think is really a big milestone, which we can also look forward in 2025.
I agree with you completely there, Sola. And despite the performing arts world having made some great strides this year, could you tell us about some challenges in the sector or areas where there is maybe room for improvement?
Right. As we've been talking earlier, many audiences would love to see the large-scale shows with the famous actors, but it also means, on the other hand, the smaller shows or new works are struggling with bringing audiences to the theater. There are always lots of shows playing in the Korean theater district we call 대학로. But it is not easy marketing a show with a limited engagement and limited budget and no popular actors or creative teams. So I highly recommend the audiences to visit many smaller shows as well and enjoy the diversity of the Korean theater. Also recently, there are some other side effects. To cast a few number of the actors in multiple productions. Recently, Cyrano and 광화문 연가 stopped in the middle of the performances due to the actors' poor condition. And actually, I was sitting in the theater that day to see Cyrano. So because there was no understudy actors in the theater, we don't actually have those strict kind of rules. So the performances had to be canceled and the audiences had to go back home. Right, and then as the actor Choi Jae-rim is currently doing Cyrano, Kinky Boots, and Chicago at the same time. So those two other shows were canceled as well for the following weekend. And also the other productions, many audiences are complaining about the recent Korean production of opera Trandut, again 2024 Trandut, due to its poor quality. So I believe we definitely need to have a stronger structure and rules in producing and operating good quality shows for the future in order to improve and maintain this industry.
It must be really a tough schedule for those actors.
Of course.
And I mean, I personally learned a little bit of musical this year. That's why I really fell in love with musical this year, as I told you before, Professor Chie. And just preparing for a few numbers already took so many weeks and months.
Right.
So yes, I hope that we will have some changes in those structures in a positive way. But last but not least, Professor Chie, what are the performances to look out for in year 2025?
In this winter, steady-selling original musical are coming back. The Man Who Laughs and Veritera and The Last Empress will open in January, and Once will be back on stage in February. And later next year, Phantom, Frida, Moulin Rouge, Mamma Mia, Red Book, and Mrs. Doubtfire will return, and the original musical Man in Korean Costume will premiere in November 2025. Moreover, mega hit immersive theater Sleep No More, maybe you heard about it, will finally arrive in Seoul next summer. So it attracted a lot of audiences for the past 20 years in the US and UK. For the Korean production, the company has been renovating one of the oldest Korean movie theater, 대한극장, to make it its performance place, the McKintree Hotel. So I'm sure the show will deliver you a new theatrical experience. Also, thanks to the popularity of TVN drama 정년이, many institutions are trying to bring 여성 국극 and 창극 to the stage. So I expect that we could see more various 창극 or 여성 국극 next year.
A huge variety to choose from. Thank you very much, Professor Chie, for your insights this year, and we wish you the best for next year, and also looking forward to talk a lot more about these culture issues.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Walter, for today, and we will actually see you back tomorrow on Tuesday.
See you tomorrow.